The storm came like God's fury, swallowing the prairie in white. February of 1883, the winter they called God's vengeance. Some nights I still see that blood trail in the snow, black against white, like sin-marked plain for the Almighty to judge. Sarah Garrett fought through waist-deep drifts toward the barn, her mother's shawl ice-stiff around her shoulders. She didn't expect to find a man dying against the door, blood-soaked coat, bullet wound still seeping, frost on his eyelashes like death's kiss. Last week, the town women had crossed the street to avoid her. Yesterday, her boy Daniel had asked why people were mean. She had no good answer then, but she knew what it meant to be left in the cold. His eyes opened, blue as winter sky, desperate as a drowning man. One word, please. She'd stopped believing in answered prayers 2 years ago when they buried her husband in shame, but she answered his prayer anyway. By spring, that dying cowboy would give her something she'd stopped believing in, a reason to hope. But first, they'd both have to survive what was coming, and what was coming would test every ounce of courage they had. She didn't think, just grabbed his shoulders and dragged him toward the cabin. He was dead weight, leaving that black blood trail behind them in the snow. Her back screamed, her legs burned. The wind tried to tear them both away. Inside, her mother Emma stood by the fire, Daniel beside her. They stared. "Help me get him to the hearth," Sarah commanded, kicking the door shut against the howling dark. "We're not letting another soul freeze in this God-forsaken winter." Emma moved first, grabbing blankets. Daniel ran for water. Together they laid the stranger by the fire, his breathing shallow and wet. Sarah looked at his face. Strong bones, weathered skin, a scar through one eyebrow. Hard life written there, but whose life wasn't hard out here? She began cutting away his coat. The bullet was still inside, right side below the ribs. "Mama," she said quietly, "heat the knife." Sarah's hands trembled as she held the blade over the flame. Emma gripped a lamp, her face tight. Daniel peered from behind a chair, eyes wide as moons. "Hold him," Sarah told her mother. She pressed the knife in. The stranger screamed, even unconscious, thrashing. Emma threw her weight across his shoulders. Daniel whimpered. Blood. So much blood. Sarah's vision blurred, but her hands stayed steady. She'd birthed calves in blizzards, set Daniel's broken arm when he fell from the loft. This was just meat and bone, just another body trying to stay alive. The bullet came free with a wet sound. She dropped it into a tin cup, the mended one, the one Jack had thrown at the wall 2 weeks before the shootout. She'd glued it back together, couldn't afford to waste. "Will he die?" Daniel whispered. "Not if I can help it." Sarah pressed clean cloth against the stitches. "Now fetch more snow. We need to cool his fever." 3 days passed in a blur of sweat and ice. The stranger muttered in his sleep, names tumbling out. Thomas. Margaret. Should have been faster. Sarah didn't ask. She cooled his forehead and kept him breathing. On the fourth morning, his eyes opened clear. He stared at the ceiling, then at her. "Where?" His voice was rough as river stones. "Safe," Sarah said. "You're safe." He tried to sit. She pushed him back down. "Don't be stupid. You'll tear the stitches." "Why'd you help me?" Sarah handed him water. "Because someone should." He drank, studying her face. "You don't know me. Could be a criminal." "The town already thinks we're criminals." She took the cup back. "One more won't make a difference." Daniel crept closer, fascinated. "Are you a real cowboy? Do you have a horse? Can you shoot?" The stranger's mouth almost smiled. Almost. "Used to." "Daniel, let him rest," Emma called from the stove. But Sarah saw something shift in the man's eyes when he looked at the boy, a softness breaking through stone. That night, Emma whispered, "He's trouble, Sarah." "The good kind or the bad kind?" "Can't tell yet." Sarah watched him sleep by the fire. Outside, wind howled. Inside, a stranger breathed steady for the first time in days. She felt something dangerous stirring in her chest. Hope. Early February brought the thaw. Water dripped from the eaves. Mud showed through melting snow. The stranger, Cole, he'd muttered through fever, sat at the table now, strength returning. The cabin smelled like wood smoke and coffee grounds reused 3 times. Daniel chatted about a fox he'd seen. Emma mended by the window. It felt almost like family. "Where were you headed?" Sarah asked, ladling thin porridge. "Before the storm?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Nowhere particular. Just away." "Away from what?" Long silence. Then, "Worked a ranch in Wyoming 3 years back. Good man owned it, Thomas Garrett." Sarah's spoon stopped. "Garrett? No relation to you, I figure. Common enough name." He stared at his hands. "Claim jumpers came one night. Shot Thomas dead. I tried to stop them." He touched his side. "Been drifting since." "Why?" Emma set down her mending. "Because I should have been faster." The words came out hard. "Should have saved him. His daughter Margaret, she said I was a coward. Said she never wanted to see my face again." "And you believed her?" Sarah asked softly. Cole met her eyes. "Wouldn't you?" Sarah ladled porridge into bowls. Her hands moved steady, but her heart hammered. "My mama married a man named Jack," she said quietly. "He was charming, kind to Daniel. We thought—" She swallowed. "He was wanted for horse theft. Died in a shootout before we knew the whole truth." Emma's voice was flat. "The town decided we were criminals too. Church ladies won't speak to us. A store owner cheats us on every sale. Children throw stones at Daniel," Sarah finished. Daniel ducked his head. "They call me thief's bastard." "Daniel," Emma's voice cracked. "It's what they say, Mama." Cole looked at each of them, these broken people who'd saved his life. He set down his spoon. "I should leave. I'm strong enough now." "Where will you go?" Sarah asked. "I don't know. Just away." He made it to the property edge before his legs gave out. The wound reopened, blood soaking through his shirt. He fell in the mud, cursing his own weakness. Sarah found him there. "You're too stubborn to die and too stupid to live," she said, fury and fear mixing in her voice. She dragged him back toward the cabin, her arms shaking. "Why?" he gasped. "Why do you care?" "Because I'm tired of losing people." The words burst out of her. "Because you look at us like we're human. Because Daniel hasn't smiled in 2 years until you came. Is that enough?" Cole stared at her. Then quietly, "I'll stay until spring, if you'll have me." That evening, Cole helped Daniel whittle a wooden horse. Emma and Sarah exchanged glances. This broken man was becoming part of their broken family. Outside, the first crocus pushed through snow. Spring was coming. But so was something else. Sarah saw it first, a piece of paper wedged under the door. She unfolded it with trembling hands. Crude letters, charcoal smudged. "Thief's whore, send the drifter away." Emma's face went white. Daniel looked up from his whittling, confused. Cole stood. "When did that—" A shadow passed the window. Then another. "Douse the lamp," he whispered. Sarah moved fast. Darkness filled the cabin. Through the window, torchlight. 3, 4, 5 flames in the yard. Daniel whimpered. Emma pulled him close. A voice from outside. "Mr. Hollis from the store. We know you got a stranger in there, Miss Garrett. Ain't proper. Send him out and we'll leave you be." Cole reached for his gun, then remembered. He'd sold it last week in town, traded it for flour and salt so Sarah could feed them all. Sarah's hand found his in the dark, squeezed. "Don't answer," she breathed. Long silence. Torchlight flickered on the walls, shadows dancing like demons. Then Hollis again, voice harder. "You got till Sunday. Send him away or we'll send him ourselves." Hoof beats. Fading. Darkness returned. Sarah stood at the window, staring at the scorch marks in the snow where torches had stood. Her reflection looked back at her, pale, frightened, but her jaw was set. "Sunday," she whispered. "That's 4 days." Cole stood behind her. "I'll go." "No." Her voice broke. "Not this time. I'm done running, done hiding, done letting them decide who I am." She turned to face him. In the dim firelight, her eyes were fierce. "They want to fight. They'll get one. Emma spoke from the darkness, her voice steady. Then we stand together. Daniel's small voice. All of us? Sarah knelt, pulled her son close. All of us. Outside, wind rattled the windows. 4 days until Sunday. 4 days to figure out how 3 women, 1 boy, and a half-healed cowboy could face down a town's worth of hate. Cole looked at Sarah. Something passed between them. Understanding, determination, and something else. Something neither of them was ready to name yet. All right, he said. We stand. Sunday came cold and bright. Sarah woke to hoofbeats, many of them. Through the window, Pastor Josiah Yates on a black mare, Sheriff Denton beside him, 3 town elders, Mr. Hollis, 6 other men, farmers, shopkeepers, faces Sarah recognized from church. No torches this time. Daylight made it legal. Stay inside, Sarah told Cole. Like hell. You're still healing. This is my fight. She walked out onto the porch before he could argue. Emma and Daniel stayed in the doorway behind her, silent witnesses. Pastor Yates dismounted. His smile was false as painted wood. Sarah, good morning. We need to speak with your mother about a family matter. Speak then. It's come to our attention that you're harboring an unmarried man with a child in the house. His voice dripped concern. It's inappropriate. Cole appeared from the barn, couldn't stay hidden. Daniel beside him, small hand gripping Cole's bigger one. He stepped forward, limping slightly. I work here, that's all, in exchange for food and shelter. In exchange for what else? Elder Hollis sneered. This family's got no money. What are you really getting, cowboy? Sarah moved between them. He helps with the farm. We feed him. It's honest work. Is it? Pastor Yates' false kindness vanished like smoke. A twice-ruined woman and her mother-in-law living with a strange man, corrupting a young boy with sin. How dare you? Emma started. We dare because we care about this community's morals. Pastor straightened in his saddle, looking down at them like God himself. Mr. Bridger, that your name? You have 3 days. Leave or I'll petition the territorial judge to remove the boy. Place him with a proper Christian family. The world tilted under Sarah's feet. Daniel's hand tightened on Cole's. Terrified. You can't do that, Sarah whispered. We can. We will. Sheriff Denton looked uncomfortable but didn't contradict the pastor. It's the law, Miss Garrett, protecting minors from immoral environments. Cole's voice went dangerously quiet. You'd really take a child from his family? We'd save a child from corruption, Pastor Yates said. Daniel stepped forward, 7 years old, small as a jackrabbit, but his voice carried. Cole ain't bad. He teaches me to whittle. He helps Mama. He don't hurt nobody. Pastor Yates looked down at the boy like he was dirt. Child, you don't understand adult matters. I understand mean, Daniel shot back. And you're mean. Emma put a hand on his shoulder, proud and terrified at once. Pastor Yates pulled a paper from his saddlebag, unrolled it with a snap. This is a petition to the territorial court. I have 23 signatures from upstanding citizens. He tossed it onto the porch. It landed at Sarah's feet like a death sentence. 3 days, Mr. Bridger. After that, this gets filed. And you? He pointed at Sarah. You'll lose that boy forever. Cole's fists clenched. She ain't property, not while I'm breathing. Brave words. Pastor Yates smiled. Let's see if you're still breathing come Wednesday. He wheeled his horse. The others followed. Dust rising, hoofbeats fading. Sarah picked up the petition. Read the names through blurred vision. Hollis, Mitchell, Brennan, Yates. Families she'd known her whole life. 23 signatures. 23 people willing to take her son. Emma's hand found her shoulder, squeezed. No words. Cole stood frozen, jaw working. Daniel pressed against his leg. What do we do? The boy whispered. Nobody had an answer. That night, fire. Sarah woke to Daniel screaming, orange light through the window, bright as noon. She ran outside in her nightdress. The barn was engulfed, flames climbing 30 feet, sparks spiraling into the black sky. Heat hit her like a fist. Emma's old mare, still inside. Cole was already running toward it. Sarah grabbed his arm. No, it's too far gone. The roof collapsed. Timbers crashed. The mare's scream cut off. They stood in the snow, watching everything burn. Hay, tools, Emma's keepsakes from before Jack died. Gone. By the time the flames died, dawn was breaking. A message written in charcoal on the remaining wall. 2 days left. The next afternoon, Sheriff Denton rode up alone. Wouldn't meet Sarah's eyes. He nailed a paper to their door. Official territorial seal stamped in red wax. Notice of petition for child removal. Hearing. 3 days. Copper Ridge Courthouse. I'm sorry, Miss Garrett. He tipped his hat. Pastor's got the law on his side. Judge Hawkins is his brother-in-law. Best you can do is send the cowboy away. Maybe that'll satisfy them. He left. Sarah stared at the legal notice. Red wax seal like a bullet wound. Cole stood beside her, jaw tight as wire. I'll go tonight. And they'll still take Daniel. Sarah's voice was hollow. To punish me. To make an example. Emma came out, face hard as stone. Then we fight. How? Sarah's laugh was broken. We got no money for lawyers, no standing in that town, and now no barn. Daniel hugged her leg. Are they going to take me away, Mama? Sarah knelt, holding him. Not if I can help it, baby. But over his head, she met Cole's eyes and saw the same truth reflected there. They were trapped. That night, Emma said, There's someone who might help. Sarah looked up from darning Daniel's torn shirt, the only good one he had left. Who? Martha Yates. Sarah stared. The pastor's wife. She hates us. Does she? Emma folded her hands. I've seen her in town. She don't cross the street. She don't whisper. She just looks sad. She's married to the man trying to take my son. And she lost a daughter 10 years back, Emma said quietly. Fever took her. She was 7, same age as Daniel. Cole shook his head from his spot by the fire. It's a trap. They'll use it against you. Maybe. Sarah stood, decision hardening in her chest. But I got 2 days left and no other options. Midnight. Sarah rode Emma's surviving horse toward town. 3 hours in darkness, every shadow a threat. Rain started, cold, sleeting, turning snow to mud. The creek was swollen from the thaw, water black and fast as a snake. She forded it, horse stumbling. Behind her, dogs barking. Someone was following. She kicked the horse faster. Trees whipped past. Mud splattered her face, heart hammering against her ribs. She reached Copper Ridge before dawn. Pastor's house sat on a hill, white, 2 stories, one upper window glowing with lamplight. Sarah threw pebbles at that window. Martha appeared, pale face, graying hair loose around her shoulders. Recognition. Shock. Martha shook her head violently, pointed away. Go. But Sarah stayed, mouthed through chattering teeth. Please. Martha disappeared. Sarah waited, soaked and shaking, certain she'd made a terrible mistake. The back kitchen door opened. Martha stood there in her nightgown, shawl over shoulders. She looked terrified. Are you insane? If Josiah sees you... They're taking my son. Sarah's voice broke. Please. You lost a daughter. You know. Martha's face crumpled. I know. She pulled Sarah inside, quick. He's sleeping. Drinks on Saturday nights, won't wake till dawn. The kitchen was warm. Martha poured coffee with trembling hands. They sat at the table like co-conspirators. What do you need? Is there any way to stop the petition? Martha was quiet. Then, there might be, but you won't like it. Territorial law says a child can't be removed from a home if... Martha took a breath. If the mother is married to a man of good standing, with employment and references. I'm not married. But you could be. Martha leaned forward. The cowboy, does he care for you? Sarah's cheeks burned. Yes. But we got no time. We'd need a license, a ceremony. Not if someone of authority performed the ceremony. Martha's eyes were intense. Someone like the pastor's wife who holds a territorial registry license for births, deaths, and marriages. Sarah couldn't breathe. You'd do that? Against your husband? Martha's hands shook around her cup. My daughter's name was Grace. She was 7 when the fever took her. Same age as your Daniel. Her voice broke. Josiah wanted another child. I couldn't. My body couldn't. He said it was God's judgment, said I lacked faith. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. I won't let him do to your boy what he did to my grief, twist it into something ugly and mean. Bring the cowboy tomorrow night, Martha said. Midnight. The old church on the ridge, abandoned one, not the new chapel. I'll have the papers ready. What about the judge? Your husband said, Judge Hawkins owes me. Martha's voice went hard. I know things about his son, things that would ruin him. He'll sign whatever I bring him. Sarah grabbed her hands across the table. Why are you doing this? Martha squeezed back. Because someone should. The words hit Sarah like a hammer. The same words she'd said to Cole. The same reason she'd pulled a dying stranger from the snow. Thank you, Sarah whispered. Don't thank me yet. This only works if you're brave enough to stand up in front of the whole town afterward. Marriage protects you legally, but only if you claim it publicly. I'll do it. Then go? Quick, before he wakes. Sarah rode home as dawn broke. Behind her, Copper Ridge woke. Smoke from chimneys, roosters crowing, dogs barking. She made it to the creek. The current was stronger now, dangerous. The horse balked. She kicked it forward. Halfway across, the water caught them. The horse screamed, went down. Sarah plunged into freezing water, her lungs seized. She surfaced gasping, grabbed a rock, held on. On the other bank, 2 men with dogs, Mr. Hollis and his son. Tell your cowboy we're watching, Hollis called across the rushing water. Every move, every road. Sarah dragged herself out on the far side, soaked and shaking, stumbled through the trees. She had 1 day left, and a secret plan that could save them, or damn them forever. She stumbled home as sun climbed the sky. Cole caught her at the door, his face white with fear. What happened? You're soaked. Get your best shirt, Sarah said through chattering teeth, her voice fierce despite the cold. We're getting married tomorrow night. Cole stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Emma appeared behind him, took one look at Sarah's face and smiled. About damn time. 1 day, that's what they had. Sarah spent the morning drying by the fire, telling Emma and Cole everything. Martha's offer, the midnight ceremony, the legal protection marriage would bring. Cole sat at the table, staring at his hands, rough, scarred, work-worn, hands that had failed to save Thomas, hands that carved wooden animals for a boy who wasn't his. You don't have to do this, Sarah said quietly. It's just paper, just survival. He looked up. Those blue eyes that had first opened in the snow, desperate and dying, now held something different, something steady. Is it? He asked. Just paper? Their eyes held. The cabin went quiet. Even Daniel stopped his whittling to watch. I don't know, Sarah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I know I trust you, and that's more than I've trusted anyone in 2 years. Cole's throat worked. I got nothing to offer you, Sarah. No land, no money, no future except trouble. Then we'll have trouble together, she said. Emma snorted from her spot by the window. Lord have mercy, you two are stubborn as mules. Just say you love each other and be done with it. Sarah's cheeks flamed red. Cole looked at the floor. Daniel piped up. Do you love Mama, Cole? The silence stretched like taffy. Then Cole spoke, quiet but clear. Yeah, buddy, I do. Sarah's eyes filled. She turned away, pretending to stir something on the stove that didn't need stirring. Well then, Emma said briskly, we got a wedding to prepare for. Sarah, you'll wear my daughter-in-law's dress, the one from her first marriage before Jack. It's packed in the trunk. The afternoon passed in a strange mixture of hope and dread. Emma altered the dress, cream-colored, simple, beautiful. Sarah tried it on, and for a moment, standing in front of the cracked mirror, She looked like someone worthy of being loved. Cole disappeared outside. When he came back an hour later, wood shavings dusted his shirt. He held something behind his back. "What's that?" Daniel asked, curious as a cat. Cole knelt in front of Sarah, pulled out a wooden ring, rough but careful, with a small turquoise stone pressed into it. The stone caught the lamplight, blue as Montana sky. "Found the stone by the creek last week," he said, not quite meeting her eyes. "Been working on this at night. I'll get you a proper one someday, when I can afford—" "This one is proper." Sarah's voice cracked. She took the ring, traced the careful grooves with her finger. "It's made from this land by your hands for our life together. That's the only proper that matters." Cole slid it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Daniel clapped. Emma wiped her eyes with her apron. For a moment, just a moment, they were simply a family preparing for a wedding. Evening came. Cole sat on the porch, teaching Daniel how to carve a bird's wing. The boy's tongue stuck out in concentration, his small hands careful with the knife. Sarah joined them, wrapped in a shawl. The air smelled like pine and coming spring. "You're good with him," she said softly. Cole watched Daniel work. "He's a good kid, deserves better than what this town's given him." "He deserves you," Sarah said. Cole's hands stilled on his own carving. "I ain't much." "You're everything." The words came out fierce. "You stayed when you could have run. You sold your gun to feed us. You stand between us and the world. Don't you dare say you ain't much." He looked at her then. Really looked. "I failed before, Sarah. Thomas died because I wasn't fast enough. What if I fail you? Fail him? Then we fail together." She took his hand. "But I don't think you will. You know why?" "Why?" "Because this time, you're not alone." Emma came out holding an old law book, her late husband's, from when he'd tried to understand the charges against Jack. "Been reading," she said. "Martha's right about the marriage law. But there's more." She opened to a marked page, read aloud. "Montana Territory, Section 47. A child cannot be removed from a home where both mother and father are present, employed, and of good moral character, without evidence of direct harm or neglect." "We got no evidence of harm," Sarah said. "Exactly." Emma's smile was grim. "Marriage makes you legally unassailable. Pastor Yates knows it. That's why he wanted Cole gone before it could happen." Cole stood. "Then we do this. Tonight. Now. Don't wait till midnight." "Can't," Sarah said. "Martha needs time to prepare the papers properly. Get Judge Hawkins' pre-signature without raising suspicion. It has to be midnight." "That's 7 hours," Cole said. "A lot can happen in 7 hours." "Then we stay ready," Emma said. They ate together as the sun set. The last of the flour made into biscuits. Coffee that was mostly burnt grounds. But it felt like a feast. Daniel practiced writing on his chalkboard. "MAMA plus COLE. Showed it proudly. Cole took the chalk, added, "FAMILY. "That's us." Daniel laughed, and the sound was like music in the quiet cabin. Sarah watched them, her son, and this man who'd become so much more than a stranger she'd saved in a blizzard. Her heart felt too full for her chest, like it might crack open. For a few hours, they were just a family preparing for a wedding. For a few hours, they let themselves hope. Then Daniel saw it. "Mama, what's that?" Orange glow on the horizon. Direction of town, but not quite. Cole stood fast, eyes narrowing. "That's not town, that's—" His face went white. "That's Henderson's ranch," Emma gasped. "No." "He offered me work," Cole said, voice hollow. "Last week in town. Said I could start after spring planting. Said he'd pay fair wages and give us a house on his land." The glow grew. Even from 3 hours away, they could see flames climbing into the darkening sky. Sarah's stomach dropped. Without Henderson's job offer, Cole had no employment. Without employment, the marriage wouldn't satisfy the law's requirements. Pastor Yates would still be able to take Daniel. An hour later, hoofbeats. A rider came fast. Young boy, maybe 12, terrified. "Mr. Henderson sent me," the boy gasped. His horse lathered. Said to tell the cowboy. They burned his barn, his house, ran off his cattle. His voice shook. Said if he hires you, they'll burn him out complete. Said he's sorry, but he can't help you no more. Cole's fists clenched so tight his knuckles went white. Who did it? Don't know for certain. Wore masks, but everyone knows who sent 'em. The boy looked at Sarah. I'm real sorry, ma'am. My pa says what they're doing to you ain't right, but he can't speak up neither. Got little ones to protect. I understand, Sarah said, though her voice was dead. Thank you for riding out. The boy left, swallowed by darkness. They stood in the yard, watching Henderson's ranch burn miles away, watching their future turn to ash. That's everything, Cole said quietly. No job, no respectability. Marriage won't protect you without it. Daniel tugged his hand. You still got us. Cole looked down at the boy. Something broke in his face. Grief and love tangled together, too big for words. I got nothing to offer you now, he told Sarah. No job, no money, no way to make the marriage legal enough. Just trouble. Then we'll have trouble together, Sarah repeated, but this time her voice wavered. Emma's hand found her shoulder. Sometimes faith is just showing up. We go to that church. We say those vows. We figure the rest out after. Sarah looked at the flames on the horizon, at Cole's devastated face, at Daniel's frightened eyes, at the wooden ring on her finger. All right, she said. We show up. We stand. Whatever comes after. We face it together, Cole finished. But they all heard what wasn't said. It might not be enough. 1 hour till midnight. Everything balanced on a knife's edge. And the knife was starting to slip. Midnight. They rode in darkness. Sarah, Cole, Emma, Daniel bundled against the cold. The abandoned church on the ridge stood black against stars. One window glowed faint. Martha had lit a candle, waiting. They dismounted, tied the horses, walked toward that small light like it was salvation itself. Sarah's hand found Cole's, squeezed. And he squeezed back. 10 feet from the door, it burst open. Not Martha, Pastor Josiah Yates, Sheriff Denton, 4 town men with rifles, torches flared to life, 6, 8, 10, surrounding them in a circle of fire. Did you really think, Pastor Yates said, voice cold as the February wind, that my own wife could betray me under my roof? Sarah's heart stopped. Where's Martha? Home, where she belongs, praying for forgiveness for her foolish attempt at deception. He stepped closer, boots crunching snow. She told me everything. Your little scheme to circumvent the law with a fraudulent marriage. It was a lie. Had to be. Martha wouldn't. But the triumph in the pastor's eyes said otherwise. Or maybe Martha had tried and failed. Sheriff, Pastor Yates said, do your duty. Denton looked sick, but he moved, pulled out iron cuffs that gleamed in the torchlight. Silas Bridger, you're under arrest for vagrancy, moral corruption, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Fraud? Cole's voice was dangerous quiet. Attempting to enter a false marriage to circumvent a legal petition. That's fraud, cowboy. The pastor's smile was serpent-thin. Territorial law is quite clear. Sheriff cuffed Cole's hands behind his back. Rough. Metal bit into skin. Drew blood. No! Daniel screamed. Sarah grabbed him, holding him back with all her strength. And you, Pastor Yates turned to Sarah. You've proven yourself an unfit mother, willing to commit fraud, exposing your son to criminal conspiracy. That petition gets filed at dawn. Emma stepped forward. You can't. I can. I will. And there's not a soul in this territory who'll stop me. He looked around at his men. Take him to town. Public procession. Let everyone see what happens to those who defy God's order. They dragged Cole behind the sheriff's horse. Hands bound, stumbling through snow and mud, 3 hours back to Copper Ridge through the darkness. Sarah followed on her horse, Emma and Daniel with her. They couldn't help, could only witness. By the time they reached town, dawn was breaking. Main Street, past the store, the church, the schoolhouse. People came out to watch, some faces hard with approval, some uncertain. Most looked away, shame or fear, Sarah couldn't tell which. Public humiliation, shame made visible. A woman spat as Cole passed. Criminal! An old man shook his head. Told you that family was cursed. Daniel reached for Cole from Sarah's arms. Cole! Cole turned his head. Small gesture, but clear. His eyes met the boy's. Keep your dignity, son. Don't let them see you break. Daniel understood, pressed his face into Sarah's shoulder, but didn't cry out again. Copper Ridge's jail, 3 cells, stone walls, 1 small barred window. They threw Cole in the farthest one. Iron door clanged shut. The sound echoed like a coffin closing. Sheriff removed the cuffs. Cole's wrists were bloody, torn. I'm sorry, Denton muttered. Pastor's got the judge in his pocket. Got half the county. I can't. Then don't, Cole said flatly. Just leave. The sheriff left. Cole sat on the wooden bench, stared at his bleeding wrists, at the stone walls that pressed in from all sides. Failed. Again. Just like Wyoming. Just like Thomas. Too slow. Too stupid. Too. First time in chains, son? Cole looked up. In the cell across from him, an old Indian man. Gray braids, weathered face, eyes calm as deep water. He sat cross-legged on his bench like he was meditating, not imprisoned. Yeah, Cole said. Won't be the last. You keep thinking you failed. I did fail. That woman trusted me. That boy. That woman loves you, the old man interrupted. That boy sees you as his father. You think they care about barns or jobs or what some starched collar preacher says? Cole said nothing. The words felt hollow. The old man shifted, his own chains rattling. My name's Two Rivers. Been in and out of white man's jails 40 years. Know what I learned? What? Honor ain't land, ain't money, ain't even freedom. Two Rivers tapped his chest. It's how you stand after you fall. That woman, she's standing. That boy, he's standing. Question is, you gonna stand with them or sit here feeling sorry? Cole's jaw tightened. They're taking the boy tomorrow. I can't stop it from in here. Can't stop wind from blowing neither. Two Rivers lay back on his bench, settling in. But you can face it with eyes open or eyes closed. Me, I always chose eyes open. Least then I know what hit me. Bootsteps. Sheriff came down the corridor. Still wouldn't look at Cole. He posted a paper on the wall outside the cell. Notice of trial. Dawn, April 1st. Custody hearing. Daniel James Garrett. Charge, moral corruption of household. April 1st. Tomorrow. Sheriff left without a word. Cole read it, reread it. The words blurred. He'd never been a praying man. Not since the night Thomas died and God didn't answer. Not since Margaret called him a coward and he believed her. But now, alone in the dark with only a stranger's wisdom for company, he tried. Lord, if you're listening, and I got no reason to think you are, but if you are, don't punish that boy for my failures. Don't punish Sarah for showing mercy. Take whatever you want from me, but leave them be. Silence. Just rats scratching in straw and water dripping somewhere. Two Rivers spoke from the darkness. Good prayer. Short. Honest. God likes honest. Don't feel like he's listening. He's listening. Just don't always answer the way we want. Sometimes the answer is, stand up and fight. Sometimes it's wait. Sometimes it's, I already sent help, you just ain't seen it yet. Cole didn't answer. Couldn't. Outside the jail, Sarah sat on the cold ground, back against the stone wall. Daniel asleep in her lap, wrapped in her mother's shawl. Emma beside her, keeping watch. You should go home, Sarah whispered. Get warm. This is home, Emma said firmly. Wherever you and that boy are, that man in there. She nodded toward the jail. He's family now. Bars don't change it. Through the small window above, Sarah could hear Cole moving, the creak of the bench, his breathing. I'm sorry, she said, not sure if he could hear through the stone. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this. Silence. Then faint but clear. You didn't drag me. I stayed. I'd stay again. Sarah closed her eyes. Tears froze on her cheeks. Emma put an arm around her shoulders. They sat like that as dawn came. Two women, one sleeping child, keeping vigil outside a jail, waiting for a trial that would rip their family apart. Inside his cell, Cole stared at the ceiling, stone cold, darkness complete now that the candle had guttered out. He'd lost everything. No gun, no horse, no freedom, no future. The woman he loved sat outside in the cold. The boy who trusted him would be ripped away in hours, and he could do nothing. This was rock bottom, the pain floor. Material loss, chains, cell, poverty complete. Public loss, dragged through town like an animal. Spiritual loss, even God seemed absent. Two rivers spoke one last time before sleep took them both. You know what's funny about white man's justice? What? It's written down. All of it. Laws, rules, procedures, everything documented. His voice carried a smile in the dark. That means it can be read, checked, questioned. Sometimes the law that binds you is the same law that frees you. What's that supposed to mean? Means don't give up till the ink dries, cowboy. Cole closed his eyes. Didn't believe it, couldn't afford to hope, but he held the words anyway, just in case. Dawn came too soon. The courthouse wasn't much. The schoolhouse converted for the occasion. Benches brought in from the church. Judge Hawkins sat behind a makeshift bench made of crates covered in black cloth, trying to look official. But the whole town came, packed in tight. Standing room only. Like a hanging, Sarah thought bitterly. Entertainment. She sat at the front, Daniel between her and Emma. The boy's hand gripped hers so tight it hurt. Behind them, Martha Yates sat alone. Her left eye was swollen shut, purple and yellow. Her lips split. She'd tried to help and paid for it. Their eyes met. Martha nodded once. Small, defiant. Sarah nodded back. Sisters in suffering. Cole was brought in chains. Sheriff Denton walked him to a chair at the side of the room, removed the cuffs with an apologetic look that meant nothing. Cole's eyes found Sarah's across the room. She tried to smile, couldn't manage it. He looked like he hadn't slept. Dark circles, jaw clenched, but his back was straight, still standing. Like Two Rivers said, Judge Hawkins banged a gavel, actually just a hammer wrapped in leather. This hearing will determine custody of Daniel James Garrett, age 7. Mother, Sarah Beatrice Garrett. Petitioner, Pastor Josiah Yates, on behalf of the Copper Ridge Community Moral Committee. Community Moral Committee, like they were righteous instead of cruel. Sarah's hands shook. Emma covered them with her own. Pastor Yates stood, clean-pressed suit, Bible under his arm, expression radiating false concern. Your Honor, we're here today because a child is in danger, not physical danger. I want to be clear about that. But moral corruption, which is perhaps even more insidious. He paced like a preacher at Sunday service. His mother, a widow of a known criminal, has taken in a vagrant drifter. They live together unmarried. The boy is exposed to sin daily. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, heads nodding. Mrs. Garrett? Judge Hawkins looked at Sarah. Your response? Sarah stood on trembling legs. Her voice shook but held. Mr. Bridger was dying in a blizzard. I helped him because it was the Christian thing to do. He's repaid that kindness by working our farm. There's been no impropriety. He sleeps in the barn. He's been nothing but honorable, more honorable than most men in this room. Some gasps at that. Mr. Hollis's face went red. He teaches my son to read better, to whittle, to be kind. If that's corruption, then I don't understand the word. Cole stood suddenly. Your Honor, if I may. You may not. Judge Hawkins banged the hammer. You're not party to this proceeding. This is about the boy's welfare, not your intentions. Then let me speak to his welfare, Cole said, voice rising. That boy's got more love in that cabin than half these people's children see in their fancy houses with their fancy morals. Sit down, Mr. Bridger, or I'll hold you in contempt and add 30 days to whatever sentence you're already facing. Sheriff Denton put a heavy hand on Cole's shoulder, pressed him down. Sarah saw Cole's jaw working, the helplessness in his eyes, the rage barely contained. She wanted to scream, wanted to overturn the benches, wanted to grab Daniel and run, but there was nowhere to run, not anymore. The facts are simple, Pastor Yates continued, his voice smooth as oil. This woman's husband was a horse thief, died in a shootout with law enforcement. Her judgment is clearly demonstrably flawed. She allows strange men into her home. She teaches her son by example that lawlessness is acceptable. That's a lie, Sarah burst out. Is it? Yates turned to the crowd, playing to them like an actor. How many of you have seen this boy running wild, unwashed, undisciplined? Murmurs, some heads nodding. Mr. Hollis stood. I seen him stealing apples from my barrel last October. He was hungry, Emma said, standing. Because you overcharge us for flour by 30%, you thieving. Mrs. Garrett, that's enough, Judge Hawkins interrupted. Your financial disputes aren't relevant here. It is relevant, Sarah's voice cracked. You're painting my son as a criminal because we're poor, because my husband made a mistake I didn't even know about, because we don't have power or money, or your husband was a thief, someone called from the back. Coward wouldn't even show his face. Apple don't fall far from the tree. Scattered laughter. Cruel. Satisfied. Daniel pressed against Sarah's side, shaking. She felt him trying not to cry, trying to be brave. Her heart shattered. Your Honor, Pastor Yates said, savoring his moment. I have one more witness, someone who knows this family intimately, someone whose testimony will, I believe, settle this matter. Sarah's stomach dropped. Who? Everyone who knew them was already here or had abandoned them. I call Emma Garrett. No. No. Emma stood, face white as chalk. I have nothing to say against my daughter. You don't have to speak against her. Just tell the truth. Yates smiled like a snake. You lived with Jack Garrett before he married Sarah. You were his mother. You knew about his activities. Didn't you? Silence so complete Sarah could hear her own heartbeat. Mrs. Garrett? Judge Hawkins leaned forward. You swore an oath to tell the truth. Emma's voice was barely audible. I knew Jack was troubled. He'd disappear for days. Come back with money he shouldn't have had. I didn't know he was stealing horses, not for certain. But you suspected? Emma's shoulders sagged. Yes. I suspected. And you said nothing. You let your son marry Sarah. Let her have a child, all while knowing Jack was involved in criminal activity. I didn't know the extent. No further questions. The betrayal hit Sarah like a physical blow, not intentional. She knew that. Emma had been protecting her son, then protecting her grandson, but it was real nonetheless. Sarah stared at Emma. Mama? Emma couldn't look at her. Sat down, tears streaming down her weathered face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The damage was done. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Now Sarah's whole family looked complicit, like corruption ran in their blood. Daniel looked up at her. Mama, why is Grandma crying? Hush, baby, Sarah whispered, though her own tears were falling now. Cole half stood again. Sheriff pushed him back down, harder this time. Don't, Denton whispered. You'll make it worse. Worse than losing everything? Worse than watching her son taken away. Pastor Yates addressed the judge. Your Honor, I think the picture is clear. This family has a history of criminal behavior and poor judgment spanning multiple generations. The boy deserves better. Deserves to grow up in a home with moral clarity, with proper Christian values, with people like you? Martha Yates's voice cut through the room. Everyone turned. She stood, shaking but determined. Martha, sit down, the pastor hissed. No. Her voice grew stronger. Your Honor, I'd like to testify. Judge Hawkins looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Yates, I don't think. I have relevant information about my husband's character, about his fitness to determine what constitutes a moral home. The room went dead silent. Pastor Yates's face drained of color. Martha, don't. Why not, Josiah? She stepped into the aisle. Afraid of the truth? Your Honor, my wife is unwell, distraught, not in her right mind. I'm perfectly well, Martha said coldly. Well enough to know that the man preaching morality runs a criminal enterprise. Well enough to have documentation proving it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Pastor Yates lunged toward her. Sheriff Denton moved fast, caught him, held him back. "You stupid woman," Yates snarled, his mask finally slipping. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing." Martha pulled papers from inside her shawl, held them up. "These are ledgers from your study, payments to Jack Garrett, $50 a month for 3 years. Want to explain to the judge why you were paying a horse thief?" The courthouse erupted. People shouting, judge banging his hammer, Pastor Yates struggling against the sheriff. Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't process what she was hearing. Martha walked forward, handed the papers to Judge Hawkins. He read them, face going from confusion to shock to something like fear. "Where did you get these?" he asked quietly. "From my husband's safe." "The one he thought I didn't know about." Martha's voice carried over the chaos. "Jack Garrett wasn't a horse thief. He was a federal witness, and my husband had him killed when he got too close to exposing the real theft ring." "That's a lie!" Pastor Yates roared. "She's insane! Your Honor, you can't possibly—" "Sit down," Judge Hawkins said, his voice suddenly sharp. "Sheriff, restrain Pastor Yates." "You can't do this," Yates said, but fear crept into his voice now. "I'll have your position. You'll be quiet," the judge stood. "This hearing is suspended pending investigation into these allegations. Sheriff, take Pastor Yates into custody." Chaos, complete chaos. Denton cuffed the pastor. People were shouting, some trying to leave, others pressing forward to see the ledgers. Sarah sat frozen, Daniel in her lap, Emma's hand on her shoulder. It couldn't be true. Jack, a federal witness, not a criminal? 2 years. 2 years of shame for a lie. Cole was on his feet now, no one stopping him. He pushed through the crowd to Sarah, pulled her up, pulled her into his arms. She broke then, sobbed against his chest. All the pain, all the shame, all the terror pouring out. "It's all right," he whispered into her hair. "It's all right. I got you." But it wasn't all right. Not yet. Judge Hawkins banged the hammer repeatedly. Finally got order. "Given these revelations, I'm dismissing the petition for custody. Daniel Garrett will remain with his mother pending full investigation." Relief flooded Sarah's body. Daniel was safe, for now. However, the judge continued, and Sarah's heart sank again. "The charges against Mr. Bridger still stand. Vagrancy and moral corruption. The fraud charge is dropped given the circumstances, but the others remain." "What?" Sarah pulled away from Cole. "That's not—" "I'm sorry, Mrs. Garrett, but until we determine the full truth of this matter, Mr. Bridger represents an unknown element. He'll remain in custody until trial." "When?" Cole asked flatly. 3 days. 3 more days in that cell. 3 more days of uncertainty." Pastor Yates, being led away in chains, turned back. His eyes found Sarah's. Pure hatred there. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Meant for her ears only. I'll burn everything you love before I'm done." Then he was gone. Martha approached Sarah, her face pale but resolute. "I'm sorry I couldn't stop the hearing entirely, but I couldn't let him take your son." "You saved us," Sarah whispered. "You saved Daniel." "Not yet." Martha's voice was grim. "Those ledgers prove Jack was working with the federal marshals, but they don't prove Josiah killed him, not definitively. And without that—" She shook her head. "He has powerful friends. He'll fight this." "Then we fight back," Emma said, joining them. Her eyes were red from crying. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. About Jack." "About not telling you what I suspected." "Later, Mama." Sarah hugged her. "We'll talk about it later. Right now we need to figure out how to end this." Cole stood beside them, still in his torn, dirty clothes from the jail, still without a future or a job or freedom, but his hand found Sarah's, held tight. "We stand together," he said. Sarah looked at her family, broken, battered, but undefeated. "Together." she agreed. But as they left the courthouse, Sarah saw the faces in the crowd. Some sympathetic now, some confused, but many still hard, still judging. And she knew, even if they proved everything, even if Pastor Yates hanged for his crimes, some stains never washed clean. Some people would always see them as criminals. The question was, could they live with that? Could they stand in the face of hatred and choose love anyway? She looked down at the wooden ring on her finger, at Daniel holding Cole's hand, at Emma walking fierce beside them, at Martha, bruised but brave, joining their small procession. Yes, she thought. Yes, they could. They'd have to. Because the alternative was surrender, and they'd come too far to surrender now. 2 days passed like years. Cole remained in the jail cell. Sarah visited daily, bringing food that neither of them could eat. Daniel drew pictures on his chalkboard, slid them through the bars. Cole kept everyone. Martha disappeared. No one knew where. Some said she'd fled to avoid her husband's wrath. Others whispered darker things. Sarah lay awake at night, the wooden ring on her finger catching moonlight, wondering if hope was just another form of torture. The third night, past midnight, hoofbeats woke her. She grabbed the rifle, the old one that barely fired, and went to the door. A man stood in her yard, black coat, silver badge catching starlight. "Mrs. Garrett, I'm Marshal William Cross, territorial investigator. I need to speak with you about Jack Garrett." Sarah's hands tightened on the rifle. "My husband's been dead 2 years." "I know. I was the marshal he was working for." The world tilted. Marshal Cross stepped into the lamplight. Weathered face, gray at the temples, eyes that had seen too much. "May I come in?" Inside, Emma made coffee. Daniel slept on. The marshal sat at their table, pulled out papers. "Your husband wasn't a horse thief, Mrs. Garrett. He was working undercover for the federal government. We suspected a theft ring operating across Wyoming and Montana. Big operation. Hundreds of horses. We needed someone on the inside." Sarah's voice was hollow. "Why Jack?" He'd grown up with some of the men involved. They trusted him. He agreed to infiltrate the ring and gather evidence. He never told me. For your protection, if the ring knew you knew, they'd have killed you too. Marshal Cross pushed a document across the table. "This is his official federal contract, signed and witnessed. He was a deputy marshal, Mrs. Garrett. He died a hero." Sarah stared at Jack's signature. Her hands shook so badly she could barely read it. "Who killed him?" "We suspected Pastor Josiah Yates was the ringleader. When Jack got close to proving it, Yates had him eliminated, made it look like Jack was the criminal instead of the witness." "And you let everyone believe the lie?" Sarah's voice rose. "You let us suffer for 2 years?" Marshal Cross's face was stone. "We didn't have enough evidence to move against Yates. He's protected, friends in high places, including Judge Hawkins. We needed ironclad proof." "And now you have it?" Emma asked. "Now we do, thanks to Martha Yates." "Where is she?" Sarah demanded. "Safe. Federal custody. The ledgers she provided show payment records. But more importantly, they led us to Jack's original reports, hidden in Yates's safe. Reports detailing the entire operation, names, dates, locations." Marshal Cross pulled out another document. "But there's more. Your husband wasn't working alone." He laid down a photograph. Sarah's breath caught. Thomas Garrett, Cole's dead partner. Thomas Garrett was also a federal marshal. He recruited his younger brother Jack to help with the investigation. When Jack was killed, Thomas continued the work. The claim jumpers who killed him, they weren't random. They were Yates's men, sent to silence him. "Cole," Sarah whispered. "Cole needs to know." "We'll tell him. But first, you need to understand something." Marshal Cross leaned forward. "Mr. Bridger didn't fail to save Thomas. He was outnumbered by professional killers sent to execute a federal officer. No one could have stopped them. But he survived. And by surviving, he became a witness." "A witness to what?" "To the men's faces, their horses, their methods." His testimony, combined with the ledgers and Jack's reports, is enough to hang Yates and dismantle the entire ring. Dawn came. Church bells rang across Copper Ridge, not for service but for alarm. Marshal Cross rode into town with 6 federal deputies. Sarah, Emma, and Daniel followed. They went straight to the jail. Sheriff Denton stood outside, looking like he'd aged 10 years. "Marshal, I didn't know about any of this, I swear. We'll sort out who knew what later. Right now, release Silas Bridger." Denton's hands shook as he unlocked the cell. Cole stepped out, blinking in the sunlight. His eyes found Sarah's. Confusion and hope warring on his face. "You're free," she said, and started crying. "You're free. You didn't fail Thomas. You never failed." He caught her as her legs gave out, held her while she sobbed. 2 years of shame washing away with each tear. Marshal Cross addressed the growing crowd in the street. "Josiah Yates is under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, horse theft, bribery of federal officers, and falsifying federal documents. So is Judge Hawkins for obstruction of justice and accepting bribes." Gasps, shouts, denial, and belief mixing. Jack Garrett was a federal deputy marshal working undercover. He gave his life in service to this territory. His widow and son have suffered unjustly because of Yates's crimes and this community's willingness to believe lies. Some faces in the crowd went red with shame. Others still looked skeptical. Marshal Cross held up the documents. "Anyone who wants to see the proof, federal contracts, witness statements, payment records, it's all here. Jack Garrett was a hero, and you treated his family like criminals." Silence, heavy and suffocating. Then Martha Yates stepped forward from behind the deputies. Her face was bruised, but her back was straight. "I betrayed my husband," she said clearly, "because he betrayed everything decent. I won't apologize for that, and if any of you have an ounce of conscience left, you won't make this family suffer another day." Cole stood beside Sarah, Daniel between them, Emma on the other side, a family reunited. Martha joined them. Small act of defiance, but it meant everything. Old man Henderson pushed through the crowd. His face was grim. "Bridger, that job offer still stands. Pays fair. You'll have a house on my land for your family." "Family?" Cole looked at Sarah. She held up her hand, the wooden ring catching the morning sun. "Family," she confirmed. Henderson nodded, turned to the crowd. "Any man who has a problem with this family has a problem with me, and I got friends." One by one, others stepped forward. Not everyone, not even most, but enough. The blacksmith. "I'll shoe your horses. No charge for the first year." Doctor. "Brennan, if the boy needs doctoring, my door's open." A young woman Sarah barely knew. "My children will play with Daniel. They'll be kind, or they'll answer to me." Small gestures. But after 2 years of stones and silence, they felt like salvation. Sarah looked at Cole, at Daniel, at Emma and Martha, at the cracks forming in the town's wall of hatred. "We're going to be all right," she whispered. "Yeah," Cole said. "I think we are." But even as they stood together in the morning light, victorious, Sarah knew it wasn't over. Pastor Yates was in custody, but he had allies. Men who'd lose everything if the truth came out. Men who'd fight to protect their secrets. And fighting men were dangerous men. Marshal Cross approached them quietly. "You should know. Yates escaped during transport last night. We're searching, but—" Sarah's blood went cold. "He's coming for us. We'll protect you. But yes, he's coming." Cole's arm tightened around her shoulders. "Then we'll be ready." The sun climbed higher. Spring morning, beautiful and deadly. Somewhere out there, a man with nothing left to lose was planning his revenge. And this family, this broken, beautiful, stubborn family, would have to face him one more time, together. The spring dance came anyway. Town tradition, held every April 1st at the town hall. Most years it was a celebration. This year, it felt like a reckoning. Sarah stood in her mother's altered wedding dress, cream-colored, simple, beautiful, the wooden ring on her finger. Cole beside her in his cleanest shirt, borrowed from Henderson. "We don't have to go," Cole said. "We could just be married quiet, stay at the farm." "No," Sarah's voice was steel. "I'm done hiding. We walk in there together. We show them we're not ashamed, that we won." Emma adjusted Sarah's collar. "That's my girl." Daniel held Cole's hand, nervous but excited. Will there be music? Yeah, buddy. There'll be music. Martha joined them on the porch. She'd been staying with them since the trial, nowhere else to go. Her bruises were fading to yellow. Ready? She asked. Sarah took a breath. Ready. They walked down Main Street as the sun set. People watched from windows. Some waved, some turned away. At the town hall, music already played, fiddles and a guitar. Light spilled from the doorway. They reached the steps. Sarah's hand tightened on Cole's. Together, she whispered. Together, he agreed. They walked inside. Conversation stopped. Every eye turned. Some faces showed disgust. Others curiosity. A few, very few, something like respect. Pastor Yates's wife walked into the dance with the cowboy. The widow who wasn't a widow to shame. The boy who wasn't a criminal's bastard. It was a statement, a challenge, a claim to dignity. Old man Henderson approached first. Sarah, Cole, glad you came. He turned to the crowd. These folks have been through hell. Least we can do is welcome them proper. Some people nodded. Others looked away. Dr. Brennan's wife brought punch. For the boy, she said, handing Daniel a cup. The blacksmith tipped his hat. One gesture, but it meant the world. Martha Yates stood beside them, the pastor's abandoned wife, now aligned with his victims. Her presence said more than words could. The ice was cracking. Not breaking, but cracking. Then the door burst open. Pastor Josiah Yates stood there. Wild-eyed, clothes torn, gun in his hand. Women screamed. Men stepped back. You, Yates said, gun pointing at Cole. You ruined me. You came to this town and destroyed everything I built. Marshal Cross and his deputies weren't there. They'd ridden to the next county, following a false lead. Planned, Sarah realized. Yates had planned this. Cole stepped in front of Sarah and Daniel. Slow, calm. I didn't ruin you, Pastor. You did that yourself. I brought order to this godless place. Yates was screaming now, spit flying. I protected these people, gave them purpose, gave them righteousness. And you and your whore. Watch your mouth. Cole's voice went cold as winter. Or what? You'll shoot me? Yates laughed, manic. You don't even have a gun. Sold it, didn't you? Sold it for flour like a pathetic... Sarah stepped beside Cole. He sold it to feed my son. That's called love, Pastor. Something you wouldn't recognize. Yates swung the gun toward her. Cole moved, fast, despite his still healing wound. Knocked Sarah aside. The gun went off. Time slowed. Cole staggered. Red bloomed on his shoulder. Not fatal, but he went down hard. Daniel screamed. Sarah dropped beside him, pressing her hands to the wound. No, no, no! Henderson grabbed the gun from the table, pointed it at Yates. Give me one reason not to end this. Yates laughed, broken, desperate. Go ahead. Prove you're no better than me. Don't. Cole's voice weak but clear. Don't give him that. Everyone looked at him. Sarah pressed her shawl to his shoulder, trying to stop the blood. Justice don't need blood, Cole said, each word an effort. Just witnesses. You all saw. He shot an unarmed man in the street. That's all any judge needs. Henderson lowered the gun slowly, handed it to the blacksmith. Someone get the sheriff and the doctor. Men moved, surrounded Yates, disarmed him without violence. The pastor fell to his knees. I had everything, he whispered. Everything. You had power, Martha said quietly from across the room. You never had anything real. Dr. Brennan arrived within minutes, examined Cole's shoulder on the floor of the dance hall. Bullet's still in there. We need to get him to my office. I've done this before, Sarah said, voice steady despite her shaking hands. I can help. They carried Cole to the doctor's office. Sarah held his hand the whole way. Daniel walked beside them, silent tears streaming. Emma and Martha followed. Henderson and the blacksmith. Others Sarah barely knew. A community, imperfect and broken, but trying. The surgery took an hour. Sarah assisted, steady hands, steady heart. She'd done this before in a blizzard, pulling Cole back from death's door. She'd do it again and again, as many times as it took. The bullet came free. Dr. Brennan stitched the wound with practiced precision. "He'll live," he said finally. "Strong constitution. Lucky man." "Lucky," Sarah repeated, and laughed through her tears. Lucky to be shot. Lucky to be hunted. Lucky to survive. But also lucky to be loved. Lucky to be chosen. Lucky to belong. Cole woke as dawn touched the windows. His eyes found Sarah's immediately. Did they take him? Federal deputies came. He's in custody. Real custody this time. The dance? Postponed. Sarah smiled. But Henderson says we can have our wedding ceremony at his ranch next month. Says half the county will come to celebrate. Half? It's a start. Cole reached up with his good arm, touched her face. "I'm sorry. Every time I try to protect you, I end up shot." "Maybe stop getting shot," she suggested. "I'll try." Daniel climbed onto the bed carefully, mindful of Cole's injuries. "You okay?" "Yeah, buddy, I'm okay." "You saved Mama." "She saved me first." Seemed fair to return the favor. Later, as sun streamed through the doctor's office window, they stood together. Sarah, Cole, Daniel, Emma, Martha. Marshal Cross arrived with news. Judge Hawkins had confessed to everything, implicating a dozen others. The entire ring would fall. "Jack's name will be cleared publicly," Cross said. "Full honors. Federal ceremony. His widow and son will receive his pension. Back pay for 2 years. Money, respectability, vindication." But Sarah found she didn't care about any of that as much as she cared about the man beside her, wounded but standing, the boy holding both their hands, the family they'd built from ashes. "There's one more thing," Cole said. He pulled something from his pocket with his good hand. A piece of paper, official-looking. "Henderson helped me file it yesterday, before the dance, just in case." He handed it to Sarah, marriage certificate. "Already signed and witnessed. Legal and binding. I figured if something happened to me, you and Daniel should have legal protection." Henderson witnessed it. "Doctor, too. It's valid." Sarah stared at the paper. "We're married? If you'll have me, I know it ain't romantic, and we didn't get the ceremony, but—" She kissed him, careful of his shoulder, but fierce and full of love. "I'll have you," she said. "Bad shoulder and all." Daniel whooped. Emma cried. Martha smiled through her own tears. Outside, spring was in full bloom. Crocuses covered the hillsides. The creek ran high and clear. Winter was over. They'd survived. That evening, they stood on the doctor's porch. The whole town could see them. Family, declared and unashamed. Some people waved. Others looked away. The town wasn't healed. Wouldn't be for years, maybe never. But enough had changed. Enough light had cracked through the darkness. They had each other. They had land and work and a future. They had Daniel, safe and loved. They had Martha, sister in survival. They had dignity, claimed, not granted. "If it were you," Sarah asked quietly, watching the sun set, "would you forgive them? The town?" Cole was quiet a long moment. Then, "I think forgiveness ain't for them. It's for us. So we can move forward without carrying their hate." "Is that what you're doing? Forgiving?" "Working on it." He squeezed her hand. "Some days are easier than others." Sarah leaned against him, careful of his wound. "We're going to make it." "Yeah," Cole said, and meant it. "We are." Behind them, Daniel laughed at something Emma said. Martha hummed a quiet song. A family, chosen and fought for, broken and healed, imperfect and real. The wind carried the scent of wild flowers. Spring had come, and they were still standing, together. That was the spring of 1883, the winter they called God's vengeance. But I reckon it was God's mercy in disguise. Cole and Sarah got married proper that June, real ceremony this time, under the cottonwood by the creek. Martha performed it, using that territorial registry license one last time before she gave it up. Daniel stood as best man, serious as a judge. Wasn't a dry eye in sight. Henderson gave them a house on his land, like he promised. Small but sturdy. They added rooms as the years went on. Added children, too. 3 more after Daniel. Cole taught every one of them to whittle. That mended tin cup Sarah kept. Still sits on their porch. I seen it myself 40 years later. Reminder that broken things can still hold what matters. Cole never wore a gun again. Didn't need to. Turns out the strongest thing a man can be is present. And he was present every day, every meal, every moment that mattered. Daniel grew up strong, became a doctor like the man who saved Cole's life that night. Said watching his mama pull bullets and stitch wounds taught him that healing was the highest calling. He practiced in Copper Ridge for 50 years, delivered half the babies in that county. Martha lived with them till she passed. Peaceful, surrounded by the family she chose. She was grandmother to all those children. Blood be damned. Pastor Yates died in federal prison. Judge Hawkins with him. Can't say I'm sorry. Some men earn their endings. And that blood trail in snow, spring came and washed it clean, like it was never there. Some stains disappear. Others teach you something about survival. See, folks think justice is loud, gavels banging, crowds cheering, bad men hanging, and sometimes it is, but more often, justice is quiet. It's a woman saving a stranger in a blizzard because someone should. It's a man staying when he could run, because running don't solve nothing. It's a pastor's wife choosing truth over comfort, even when it costs everything. It's a community, just enough of them, deciding cruelty don't have to win. Justice is keeping your eyes clean when you look in the mirror. Knowing you stood when it mattered. Knowing you chose love over fear, dignity over shame, presence over absence. That's what Cole and Sarah taught me. That's what their story means. Maybe you're listening to this tonight because you're going through your own winter. Maybe you've been called things you aren't. Maybe you're trying to figure out if you're brave enough to stand. Let me tell you, you are. Dignity ain't something people give you. It's something you claim. One choice at a time, one day at a time, one moment of courage when it'd be easier to hide. And love, real love. It ain't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up, day after day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Winter always ends, but you gotta survive it first. And you can't survive it alone. So find your people. Build your family, blood or chosen, don't matter which. Stand with them, let them stand with you. That's all any of us can do. That's all any of us need to do. If this story touched something in you, I'd be obliged if you'd tell me where you're listening from. Montana, Texas, somewhere warm where snow's just a memory. I like knowing my voice is reaching folks who need to hear that goodness still exists, that dignity still matters, that love still wins, even when it's hard fought and hard won. Till next time, friend, may your dignity carry you through whatever storm you're facing. May you find someone worth standing with when the wind howls, and may you have the courage to be that someone for another soul in need. God bless, and good night.